Hello.
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 And we're here to natter at you tonight about the 4th episode of the 4th season of Game of Thrones titled Oathkeeper. But before we do that, a little contact information. We are the Nattercast. You can reach us at www.nattercast.com. And you can send us email, feedback, comments, anything you'd like read on the air to nattercast@gmail.com. But where the real party for us is online on Facebook. If you go to Facebook and you search for Nattercast, you'll find a page. We would love it if you would like the page, and you'll find a group. We'd love it if you'd ask to join the group and come in and discuss all these other things with us. And if you're listening to us on a RSS reader or an aggregator like iTunes or Stitcher or Castroller or any of those, if you could hop over and give us a little thumbs up or a 5-star rating or a nice little review, that's really the best thing you can do for us. It helps us get more visible and get more listeners, and the more listeners we have, the better the cast is.
I really enjoy how every episode you add another aggregator. Do you
Another-
have
I'm
10
starting
in
to
line?
Well, I've been signing up with all the aggregators.
I know. This part's going to take like 35 minutes
Yeah,
from
totally
episode
agree.
10. It's going to be awesome.
And we have the other thing that we have going on Facebook is we've opened up a couple of fan groups for our shows. We have I Can't Stop Watching True Detective, for any True Detective fans out there. We are planning on covering season 2 when it comes out next year. And we, of course, have I Can't Stop Watching Game of Thrones. And so I have got to give a special shout out to Joanne Silverman, who got us our 100th member of I Can't.
300th member.
The 100th member
Oh,
of,
100th member of Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And
Joanne Silverman. She's pretty
Joanne
awesome.
Silverman, and here's the shout out she
And
wanted.
she came to us through Shane.
She came to us with Shane.
Oh,
yeah.
she has her own shout out that she wanted.
Well, that was the prize. You bring us our 100th listener,
right.
you get a shout out, and this shout out is to Margie and her kids Gabby, Matt, and Phil over in Luxembourg, who are big Game of Thrones fans, who are the people she added to get us
right
a-
on.
to get us to 100.
Margie,
Gabby, Matt, and Phil, and her
Matt,
children.
and Phil.
Yes, in Luxembourg. Game of Thrones fans, hello, glad
Hello,
to hear
you
you.
guys.
Hello,
Hello.
Luxembourg.
So everybody in Luxembourg, get onto iTunes, go over to the 5-star rating. And
There's
give us
four
a
of you
five-star.
that-
If you know
Four
any
five
other
stars.
aggregate stuff, send it to Jason. He likes to talk about it.
And we did just get our 300th
Any
member
in
in the main
Flemish,
group.
it's all good.
And
Yes.
so things are growing. And it's all
Yeah, we
going
got somebody really awesome. Made me feel really good that my radar was still working.
Yeah.
Haven Perez.
Haven Perez.
Is number
Yeah.
300 in our
number
original
300.
group.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
we have some comments from him that we'll be reading a little bit later on.
And we're up like to 760 people in True Detective.
Yes, True Detective's
That's
really taken off. I'm
insane, yeah.
looking forward to the next season. There was a good suggestion on Bald Move that from Mad Men that if they take the secretary, the new secretaries, the African Americans, Dawn
Dawn.
and Shirley, make them the True Detectives
Oh.
set in the 70s. I thought that was a hot idea.
That's a really hot idea.
yeah, it's one of their listeners wrote that one in.
That's a
Yeah.
very good one.
And they were going to solve some mystery on the show.
I don't like the
Correct.
Brad Pitt idea that keeps being trial ballooned.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I would have liked Matthew McConaughey a couple years ago, so we'll see.
Interesting.
All right.
I want somebody new.
So before we get into the recap, we got a little bit of listener feedback on this episode. So take it away, Sion. Yes.
The blue stuff?
Yes, the blue stuff.
Oh, and a few people have been commenting in different ways that they can't tell whose voice is who. I am Sion.
I'm Danielle.
I'm
I have a
Sion.
bit of a cold, though.
Yeah, boo-boo throat.
I think Alan and I are pretty distinctive.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think we sound anything alike. I generally just sound drunk recorded, which may or may not be because I'm actually drunk.
Yeah,
One of the
Alan's
two.
our king of wine. He brings a
I
nice
think
bottle.
Sion and I have a similar tone, and we sit next to each other. So
Yes.
We have
yes.
a lot of resonance in our voice.
Or you're the same person. We're not telling you.
Ooh,
We are
Yeah, it's like
animal
It's like
addicts.
Fight Club.
We are. Yeah, we do have some things in common. Okay, the first one is from Brad Zipperich, who runs the Watchers of Anarchy podcast, and they're having a big. You're going to it.
Yes.
They're having a big.
my 42nd birthday weekend.
Yes, in
Which
August.
I never celebrate my birthday. But maybe this
The
year.
August, the Watchers of Anarchy. If you're really into that, they're doing a gathering, like a little mini convention in Chicago. Yeah. And Brad says, I think Jamie needs a hook. Not a big fantasy fan, but have to say that I enjoyed part with the walkers. Found it interesting that the children are taken and converted when young. That part brought me back to Grey Worm talking about his history. There was nothing before Unsullied. Nikki Ebright, I'm a fan of Sansa, so I'm so glad to see some folks finally giving her character a chance. I think she's going to turn out to be a major player in the game.
I really liked her in this episode.
Yeah.
Katrina McDowell. I saw Sansa in a very different light tonight. I no longer think she is naive, helpless little girl. I now see her as someone who is very intelligent, quietly sees what is going on around her, and is smart enough to know when to keep her mouth shut, when to play dumb, and when to tell people what they want to hear, and when to ask questions. I think she's always been like that.
Yeah, but she's definitely becoming less irritating.
But now what I think Katrina is talking about was she started to say what she has observed, and it's dead right on. Yeah. She is only 15 years old now, but is growing up very quickly and has figured out on her own that Littlefinger is the last person she should trust. A lesson lost on both of her parents.
That's true.
And so much for having a long...
It only took her.
It only took a couple of beheadings.
I mean, let's be clear. She's had a lot of... this is like the 4th time.
He's got a thing for the necks of her relatives.
I
Yeah.
participated in the murder of numerous of your parents.
And yet you still trusted me 2 or 3 times before now. So it's just...
And she says, so much for having a long, drawn-out Who Shot JR murder mystery.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I love... Diana Rigg was so awesome in that scene.
Oh, yeah.
That was so well done. Just... I could
She's
never
awesome in everything.
seen you.
Yes.
You didn't... I could never have seen you get married, or I never...
I couldn't. You don't think I was going to let you marry that monster?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
I
but
thought
it-
you were talking about her talking about her husband.
No,
That
she-
was the much better
Well, that
part.
was good, too.
Flashbacks to the
When she,
Avengers.
when she reveals
James
that she's the
Bond.
one, you know? Yeah. Yeah, she's quite the clever little character. Anyways, Stephanie Brown Anderson. I'm super excited about the Locke edition at the Wall, and for the action at Craster's. Bronn's Journey North was a slog in the books, and this really ups the interest level for me.
I think that's true.
I can't wait to see how they get out of this. I didn't care for Carl. He crossed over into the absurd territory, as well as the rape-o-rama. What was the line? Rape her to death? Really?
Yeah.
Is that a line from the book?
No.
None of that.
None of this
is
is
in the book.
Just rapey?
It's just they've just changed the fights up in the north quite a bit.
The Jamie Bronn, Jamie Tyrion, Jamie Brienne scenes were the best part for me, even though I felt a bit of ick in the pit of my stomach when Jamie was on screen because of the stuff from last week.
Yeah.
Have they forever changed him for me? I hope not. Brienne looks so badass in that armor. Boy, did she.
Yes.
I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
that was the best
Fierce.
looking thing in the whole
What did it
episode.
remind me of? There was some black armor that I'd seen recently.
That was some slick custom stuff.
Looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I know, Jamie is incredibly good at doing things by eye.
Yeah.
I mean, he should be an armorer.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah,
just be
exactly. That was
like,
pretty
gave him
impressive.
respects.
Because
Like,
she's oddly proportioned too,
Yeah.
so
You
it's
know
not
what
like you
Kinda
can just
reminded me
kind
of
of,
is
you know,
the Batman with the nipples.
Oh yeah,
No
latex.
nipples. But no,
no nipples on the Brienne suit.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
They stole it
Yes.
from the Warner Brothers.
She
set.
is one bad bitch. I like her character in the show. Seems less dense than the one in the books.
Yeah.
Gwen Christie has really brought her to life for me. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
She also seems to have grown from her time on the road with Jamie. I look forward to her road show with Pod.
She's a bit of
Yeah.
a dullard in the book.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we talk a lot about how the kids have been aged up, but
Yeah.
Brienne is probably the biggest age up in the entire show.
How old is she?
She's like basically a teenager. She's like,
She's like
18,
18 or 19?
and been sheltered her whole life, and now she's like whatever.
Is
Like
that
29, 30 is what she feels.
Yeah,
right?
she's like a
Right.
30-year-old badass.
Yeah.
right, and that's
Right.
that's probably the biggest maturity line we've seen.
That explains why she is so, because this whole thing is like on the show, people kind of like have this idea of Jamie and Brienne having something, but in the book, it's very clear she's hung up on Renly.
Yes.
She's like still hung up on.
And then she gets hung up on Jamie. I mean, it's there. It's there. It's a little bit hidden,
Right.
but there's no real evidence that Jamie harbors romantic feelings, and I just garnered you a lot of
I think
hate mail.
I think he finds a level of respect and
Yes,
compassion
I agree.
and
And
care
also-
for her that he didn't expect to feel.
And I think she represents a model of what he would like to think of himself as being, but he's not.
True.
Which is an
Well,
honorable
he's got to be
knight.
refreshed by her integrity. I mean,
Yes.
she's
And her 2 hands.
she might.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
something too.
Is she like the only character in all of this that has any integrity?
I'd say Daenerys has integrity.
Davos.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daenerys has integrity.
Davos has a boatload of integrity. Stannis has way too much integrity. Too much integrity.
This is like structural integrity, though.
Jon Snow.
Okay, let me finish
Sure.
Stephanie's. She is one bad bitch. Okay. She already did. Okay, I look forward to the road show with Pod. See, when I saw them go off, I was like, great. A character I fucking actually like, and she's going off. I probably won't see her again. We'll be stuck with these dimwads.
No, actually,
no, she
gets
the,
a lot of-
the
We get to see more of
Brienne,
them?
if they show us the Brienne Pod,
There's
road
the-
show is actually pretty awesome in the book.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be good.
goody.
Yeah.
Thank you. I needed that spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. That has me holding on.
You're not going to
together.
lose her.
Yeah.
And more.
Especially when he calls her Stir.
I mean, it might
Yeah.
be only to kill her, but
Yeah.
you're not going to lose her.
I hope I pronounce his name correctly. Pat, it's another new person who's really awesome. I want to say Spanagle.
Oh, he's from Geek Girl Soup.
Oh, right. I heard him. Yeah, he's probably
He's a
had his
regular over there.
heart crushed. That he by Susan Monk playing any games with her. Danny's justice was troubling to me, underscored by Barristan Selmy's advice. It seems karmic for Danny to want to crucify the same number of slave masters as slave children, but it's no more justice than Cersei's insistence that Tyrion be killed because of her suspicions. No one weeps for spiders, whores, or slavers, to paraphrase Varys. And I'm not unhappy with what happened, but why those guys? Why not others? If punishment is dealt out randomly or capriciously, like Tyrion for Joffrey, then it's not justice. I did feel sorry for Cersei last night, since Tywin was figuratively abducting Tommen
Yes.
last week, and last night Marjorie was completing the deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Who does Cersei have now in her corner? Ex-Master Qyburn? Crystal Ferguson Heisel, I think? Mm-hmm. We watched again last night. Jaime seemed more beaten down and Cersei more angry. I don't know what else could be expected from the Jaime and Brienne scenes. The whole point was that he was protecting her from Cersei by sending her away. I got that from both of their scenes.
Interesting. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
And Jane Greenspan. By the way, if you want to play with Jay Greenspan's really cool new software, interactive software to watch Game of Thrones, join our group, get hooked in. It's pretty.
I finally
Yeah.
signed up for it today. I haven't messed with it yet, but
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something
Looks like it'll be
to get on the ground floor on.
It's still in beta, but it
Yeah.
works pretty well.
My 2 cents, coming after the Purple Wedding and the Rape in the Chapel episodes, we were due an hour where nothing foundation shaking happened. So this episode felt a little slower and mellower. Yeah, all that rape-o-rama, that's some mellow shit.
Craster's place was way mellow.
Man, I thought they were,
It's just love now.
I saw all the bongs, didn't you?
Oy vey.
It was just bongs and pillows and massages. Then the last couple, which is fine by me. I very much enjoyed the reveal of the plot to kill Joffrey. It's great to see that the mighty Lannisters don't wield the power they think they do. If there's going to be any left soon. Even their most valuable allies have no real allegiance to them. I guess you can make some argument that this exemplifies how ruling by intimidation is not a wonderful long-term strategy. But as we look at people who actually wield power, Littlefinger, Olenna Tyrell, Dany, we see that all of them are capable of real brutality. A couple of quibbles on this episode. I found the choreography of the fight scenes a little fake, which is not the norm for this show, and I would agree with him. I also take issue with Olenna's line to Marjorie that she is even better. It doesn't get much sexier than a young Olenna. That's
all
true.
true.
Marjorie versus Diana Rigg.
Yeah, she's a graduate of the Dornish acrobatic school for sex workers. Okay, cool. So that's a little bit of our listener feedback. So let's just jump right on into it. So let's open up with Miss Molly and Daenerys.
Did we have audio clips or?
Yes, we do. We have audio clips. The
Woohoo!
ones that you have requested.
We're so 21st century.
We are so 21st century. So you just throw to me when you want them.
Let's go on and do the first one with now.
Absolutely. Okay, hold on. I gotta fast forward here because we're changing order just a little bit. So this is Grey Worm and Miss Andre.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I am from an island called Natter.
Skuriavlaitis. When they took you,
When did they take me? I was 5 years old.
You remember your home?
I remember when they rowed us away from shore. How white the beaches were. How tall the trees. And I remember my village burning. Smoke rising into the sky. Do you remember your home?
Unsolid. Always unsolid. Before unsolid, nothing.
That's not true.
I thought it was after Unsullied nothing.
Before no.
Perhaps one day you will return to the Summer Isles.
I don't want return. Eban senaho paiske.
Kill the masters.
Kill the masters.
Kill the wabbit.
Awesome.
Danielle, you're so naughty.
I know.
Yeah, I really like this scene. I thought it gave a lot of depth to these two characters and I think this was also covered on some of the threads in Facebook somewhere, where it gives them a little backstory. It also gives us a little insight. Even though these are two freed slaves, they are very high up in Danny's organization, so they might be considered elite at this point. They're still freed slaves, and it gives you a little bit of, what the slave issue, what it was like to be a slave, in this area, and how young it started, and that's not something we've really seen before.
Yeah. I think it answers some of the racial concerns about Danny's storyline, that we're seeing nothing but white people talking about freeing black people.
Right.
And so it is kind of nice to hear too. I'm not so sure that it's racial so much as it is class, but it breaks down to racial quite as often as it does.
Yeah.
Where I'm really pleased to see two slaves talking about
Former
their
slaves.
Former slaves.
Former slaves.
Two people with slave backgrounds.
Right.
Yes.
Talking about their life, their future, what they hope for out of this enterprise,
Yeah.
and seeing that there's something in this for them, that they're investing in Danny for a reason,
Right.
that they're not just looking at her to be a savior, that this is part of something that they want for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I like this very much.
Yeah.
And you know what? The other thing too I loved about it with the hands, it's so Michelle McLaren. It's like, here's a little scene. It's not really consequential,
Right.
but it really connects these characters in a way that like a whole season of somebody else directing never would.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to do that in the show.
yeah,
Because you aren't going to get an hour of Masinde.
right.
Yeah.
She's going to get like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is too bad.
Which is
I would watch her spin off.
She is.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they just,
Yeah.
that we could have a spinoff of her.
Absolutely. Want to write
But
it?
those two are hot together too.
Plus,
Yeah.
I mean, now, the right has evidence that Barack Obama really was a violent revolutionary.
Right.
It's right there. Kill the masters.
Yes.
Kill the master.
There you go.
Yes.
Young
Yeah.
Barack Obama
Baby
on
Barack
video.
Obama kills the masters. That's pretty much what Fox News sees whenever there's
And
a press
and
conference.
and the reason he's not talking about his background is because it's Kenyan and it won't fit into the Game of
He
Thrones.
doesn't have a
So it's
birth
just all
certificate.
part of his denial.
Kenyan
okay.
is not a word in Valyrian.
See, now what's really funny is my coworker that I sit right next to, she was born in the Seychelles Islands, but she grew up in Kenya. And I always joke with her, she should tell people that she used to babysit his little sister. Oh, yeah, I know him. She worked on his campaign and stuff, too.
Oh,
She
funny.
said, yeah, of course I know him from back home.
Yeah. So getting back to the show, I also like that it was for me it was a good strategy to teach him the Westerosi common language, because before he only knew High Valyrian, and so it's a good forward-looking strategy. It's something like he needs to be able to understand what's happening around him when they finally get to Westeros.
Right.
So in that way,
I wonder what kind of diplomat he's going to be.
I don't think he's going to be a diplomat, but
Yeah.
it certainly aids as a soldier to understand what people are saying around you.
Of course.
Right. And regardless, he's a leader now. He's
Yes.
one of her.
Exactly. Yeah. And my last thought was Wasn't he castrated? But
Yeah.
but he does have a very, soft spot.
I think every,
For her?
I mean, from the other direction, every lesbian in the world is like, yeah, so, I mean, from this and Day's point of view, like, there's
That's
things
true,
that
but
can
I
be
mean,
done.
intact people have the hormonal drive. The question is, does he have any hormonal drive?
No,
for-
possibly
But-
not.
but
he
it
can have
didn't
some
even-
But for
sort of
basic human affection,
emotional
sure.
drive.
Yeah.
It serves a lot more than sex.
It's and it was a connection. I mean, the hands, like
Right.
we were talking about. It's a connection that's probably deeper than a sexual connection, because
Yeah.
they're sharing that slaving history, and he knows. They both know where each other came from,
and
that sort
they've
of
been
thing.
given. They have now a vision of their lives that they didn't get until they were adults.
Right.
Right. And so that's
Right.
that often brings people together when you see the world in a new way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we move straight from there into the slave revolt, and I love this because he goes from being the soft-spoken guy to Worm, Grey Worm, 007, Valimor Gulas. Yes.
With his bag of weapons.
Yes, that was, and they actually had a big group of people sneaking into the city. I
Right.
mean, when I looked on rewatch, I'm like, there's like 50 or 100 people going into the city through the storm drain.
And it was only 3 in the
second
boats.
movie that the second city that they've managed to take this way. Like
Yeah.
somebody really needs to just plug up their sewers.
Right.
Like it's getting seriously, guys.
And
Yeah.
in the books, that is a sewer they're walking through. So they're in knee deep in
In the muck.
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, and dressed like slaves again. I kind of like how they're with Daenerys' story, how they just always sort of like the fall of the city just sort of happens over there.
Right.
Like, oh, you missed it. It's right behind you. It's like we got it.
Ba-bam.
Ba-bam.
Yeah.
We did it. We won. Wait, what?
Yeah, but he gave a nice speech to the gathered slaves, and then he gave them weapons, and that always helps. The graffiti written in English, but the master knows exactly what it says, and then it doesn't matter because he gets killed.
It would be remarkable if it was actually English.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to get that it's
Yeah.
common or Valerian or something.
Yeah,
I think they did the same thing in Rome, didn't they?
Yeah, they did the same thing in Rome. And they showed when they did Tywin's letters, he was writing in English.
True.
Yeah, I think what because it definitely struck me weird. I think the problem is that because they actually speak a language that, like when it's English to what Westeros speaks, I have no problems that
Right.
things are in English.
Yeah.
Right.
When they say Earth or things like that, but when it's supposed to be Valerian, it definitely
You
for
rather
me
just
was
see
like,
runes.
Yeah.
I instantly.
But
They
went to
they wanted to communicate to us exactly what it said, though.
people called
Right.
Romanus, they go the house,
'Cause
right?
it-
That's
But see, that reminds me of Talissa writing to her mother last season, and that was in Valerian. That wasn't in English.
Oh, wasn't it? Yeah.
No.
See, exactly. So that's.
So that's fine. I'm fine with that.
I mean, I know where they were caught in a hard place. They,
Yeah.
I guess they could have done the
Absolutely.
subtitles, but
I liked your throw out to Monty
Yes.
Python. People who are Romans, they go to the house.
it's one of the best scenes in that movie, the conjugation fight. Yes. You can just imagine in ancient Rome, they had those all the time.
I took Latin. I took 4 years Latin in high school. That scene just genetically resonates with me. Like, yeah, I screwed up that way before.
So yes, all of a sudden the city has fallen, and there's that gigantic tapestry up on the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
So I'm going to point out that's totally possible. She's got an army of like 20,000 women and children following her.
Right.
Like
true.
knitting a big old quilt.
Yeah,
Seems like they got the time.
Well,
Yeah.
it also might have her brother might have had it. Right.
Yeah.
True.
It might
You
just be
never
a
know.
family heirloom.
Yeah.
Or it could have been a gift, like she received the eggs or something like that.
She could have gotten it on
A wedding
Amazon.
gift.
It's plausible. They have plenty of time.
It is
Yeah.
plausible.
Amazon
yes.
drone dropped it off.
Yeah.
And they've freed a lot of workers who were fabric workers. And
Yeah,
stuff like that, so
yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I did kind of get a little irritated with the whole Misa thing again. I'm like, at least they didn't crowd surf her all the way up those.
I think we're supposed
Walks.
to be getting a little disturbed.
Yeah.
Because it's like here she is, and there's almost like this V for Vendetta level,
Yes.
black and red Daenerys above everyone on the pyramid, and I think we are supposed to be seeing a little.
Well, they hit that, right?
Yeah.
With their little, I mean, it's just a tinge now, but it's coming.
Yeah.
The little fight over what to do,
Yeah.
right? Her vengeance-based punishment versus.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we have.
This is the next audio clip, so we should
Yeah.
go on in.
Okay. So let's, oh, wait a minute.
Reset.
I have to reset to the right thing. Oh my god. I don't have my panels.
Daenerys would not be forgiving.
No.
man.
Oh, killed the masters.
You'd be losing
Kill
your fingers right
kill the
now.
audio
right.
screw up guy
There goes your thumb.
who screwed up my MP3 files. All right. Here we go. So this is Danny, give me advice.
Remind me, Ser Jorah, how many children did the great masters nail to mileposts?
163, Captain.
Yes, that was it.
Your Grace, may I have a word? This city is yours. All these people are your subjects now. Sometimes it is better to answer injustice with mercy.
I will answer injustice with justice.
Alrighty. Injustice with justice.
Yeah, good old eye for an
Works
eye,
for me.
biblical justice. I can see where people like this.
Yeah.
You know, it hits that base human, give me justice for all those children that were nailed to crosses.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you think back to what Tywin was saying to Tommen last week about how
Yeah.
the wise rulers listened to their advisors, you know, there's also something to be said for showing how you're going to rule.
Right.
And this shows everyone that she's going to rule in a certain way, and maybe that's okay, but I didn't agree with it. I didn't agree with it from the point of view that this was necessarily the best thing to do to the
Right.
slave masters. I think that if she were going to be a more nuanced queen, a more mature queen, she would find a better way to deal with it. However, that being said, she is still very young, still very inexperienced, and to her and to every teenager I know, this would be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, that's how we should make our decisions.
well, I'm just saying that this is, you know,
It's
her
understandable.
age and her
Right. I'm
you know.
not saying it's unbelievable or not understandable. The problem is this kind of leadership, especially in an occupation situation, just doesn't work.
It's true. It doesn't.
It's never worked.
Yeah, it creates
there's
columns.
there's
Yeah.
a massive amount of history. I mean, you just want to watch the lead-in from World War I to World War II versus the cleanup from World War II, and
Exactly.
you have an intense contrast on
Yeah.
on how nations and peoples react
Yep.
to being punished over and over again.
By an external force.
Right.
By an external force, which
Right.
you're fundamentally outnumbered once you occupy. It's a
Right.
completely different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
A successful occupier almost always co-ops the existing power structure.
You have to. Yeah.
Right. And if you're smart about it, you give them an incentive to keep you in power.
And
Right.
and here's the other thing, without knowing a whole lot, and I've just started reading this part of the book, so I'm not ahead on anything. Unless the slaves are literate, functioning bureaucrats, you don't have city management if you're nailing all of the masters to trees or executing them.
Yeah.
Very
And
true.
You
Yeah.
have to have the bureaucracy. You have to have people who can maintain the trade and keep everybody fed and make sure the water's clean and do all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And a
Right.
lot of times, in some kind of slaving environments, the slaves could do that because they were highly educated and literate. And slave was really just sort of lifetime employment for a lot of people. It wasn't really property in the same respect. You could earn your freedom like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this feels much more like farm laborers and people like that who are not going to be able to administer a city.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also have the added problem that, as you mentioned, you can't kill them all, or you
Right.
have serious problems.
Right.
If you kill part of them, and in frankly a rather random and capricious manner, I mean,
And horribly.
and
Yeah.
horribly,
Yeah.
you're building resentment. You
Right.
killed someone's brother, someone's mother, someone's father, someone's sister. These are not wounds that don't fester, regardless of how justified you felt about it.
Yeah.
You're walking into a situation, as abhorrent as the crime is, it's a reality of the culture it's in. And let's face it, 98% of people don't buck their culture. I think we as people would all love to say that if we were in antebellum South, or if we were in 1960s apartheid era South Africa, or if we were in Nazi Germany, we would be the one that rebel against it. But the reality is most of us wouldn't.
Right.
And
You're just trying to get by, survive.
Judging 163 people randomly, not picking the decision makers, picking
Not having a trial, not having due process.
not having anything to it,
Yeah.
isn't doing anything for you except for breed a whole lot of enemies in a city you're about to live in, where
Yeah.
you're greatly outnumbered, and you're no longer in a situation where you have a firm line of combat.
Right.
There are people behind you now. There are people to your left and to your right. It's
Yep.
no longer there's a wall between us. I can go to bed at night, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole different scenario, and it's an incredibly bad move. Actually, I've seen a lot of like back and forth. There's back and forth in it, and forget the moral implications of it or anything like that. Tactically,
It's a bad move.
it's
It is
terrible
a bad
move.
move, tactically, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and because of my own writing projects, I'm studying a lot about the way the Romans managed things, and they always had these upheavals in the legions. The legions consider themselves sometimes they're very loyal to Rome or very independent. It's kind of like the Night's Watch kind of thing. Right? And when they had these rebellions, what they would do is decimate, right? Where you have 9 guys kill the 10th. And a lot of times the decimations were drawn by lots. But another way you could do it is you have people choose who gets decimated.
That's right.
So you
You
go
co-opt
to the
them into
masters
the
and you say
decision.
10% of you need to die, and you need to tell me who the 10% are.
Right.
Then they're culpable. Then they're invested in you. Then they are buying.
Rather horribly.
They're buying their justice.
Yeah.
Right. And so once they have some guilt around it, then you get to have the benefit of punishing crime without losing the entire bureaucracy of a city.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you get into the moral and ethical implications of it, frankly, in
Right.
terms of, wow, you're not picking the person who decided to do X, Y, or Z. You're
Yeah. It's not a real justice system. It's a discipline system.
that's a
Yeah.
Tywin Lannister-esque move, right?
But that's who wins in these ruthless environments.
And if you would like to continue this, there's a long thread going on Facebook as of Wednesday evening, yes.
On this very topic.
On this very topic.
We have
so-
some great conversations in that group.
Yeah. This one I think is in the I Can't Stop Talking About Game of Thrones group. So, yeah.
Okay. Kids stop watching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can't stop talking.
And this is
And you also can't
reminiscent,
stop talking about it.
this is reminiscent also of the Tywin Tommen conversation.
Exactly.
Where he's
Yes.
saying, listen to your advisors.
Yeah.
What's wise.
We'll tell you what to do, and Dany not listening to her advisors
Ed-
and doing it her way.
He very specifically brought up, do you know anything about supply lines, granaries,
Right.
managing a navy?
Right.
And Toman's like, no. It's like, well, then listen to people who do.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she's going to be facing.
Right.
She's walking into Marine. It's like, where are we going to get food? Oh.
Yeah. It looks like
You
a
know.
desert
And also,
all around.
I'm about to get you a sweet piece of ass to distract you.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
You just killed all the food merchants.
Yeah. So okay.
So that's the
that was
Daenerys. All right,
Dany.
so now
Yeah.
we're moving on to King's Landing, which is mine this week. So we have basically King's Landing was the Jaime show, which I found interesting after everyone so controversial about Jaime last week. I don't even know if I can look at him. He's disappointed me. And it's like now he gets all the scenes.
Yeah.
First one, Jaime and Braun.
This was so good.
Sparring. That was really good. It literally took his own hand off of him and slapped him with it. That's like something you threaten to do to somebody.
That is-
I'm going to take their hand off of you and pimp slap you.
I think that hand would give you a concussion.
Yeah, it
Or
probably
at least
would.
split you open.
Well, that's
This is
hollow
soft
and made of
metal.
steel. It's not solid gold.
Ouch.
It's
Still metal.
It's still metal. Though.
It would still
so
hurt.
hard. It's hard, but I don't
whoever
know.
thought
It's
of
not
that,
heavy.
though, just kudos to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, that was just brilliant.
It's so classic Braun.
Yeah.
It is.
Do you talk to my brother this way?
But
Yeah.
another, but again, to me, this is like Michelle McLaren. So we've seen a couple of Braun and Jamie's, and they've been good. And then we have when Jaime asked Braun, "Do you think my brother did it?" And when Braun said, "No," it was just so much deeper of a read of one word. It's like I really bought that Braun has thought about it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And Braun
Right.
feels like he knows Tyrion, and Braun feels like Tyrion wouldn't do this. And just I liked it. I liked this scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then moving further down the Jaime thing, we have Jaime and Cersei. Actually, I'm going to hold Jaime and Cersei for the end because we have some feedback on that. So then we have Jaime visits Tyrion in jail, and I've got a little audio on that, so let's hear that.
You really asking if I killed your son?
You're really asking if I'd kill my brother?
Well, you could set me free.
No, I can't.
Then there's really nothing else to say.
What do you want me to do? Kill the guards? Sneak you out of the city in the back of a cart? I'm the Lord Commander of the King's Guard.
Sorry, I'd forgotten. I'd hate for you to do something inappropriate.
Inappropriate? You're accused of killing the king. Freeing you is treason.
Except I didn't do it.
Which is why we're having a trial.
A trial. If the killer threw himself before the Iron Throne, confessed to his crimes, and gave irrefutable evidence of his guilt, it wouldn't matter to Cersei. She won't rest until my head's on a spike.
Not just yours. She's offering a knighthood to whomever finds Sansa Stark.
Sansa couldn't have done this.
She had more reason than anyone in the Seven Kingdoms. Do you think it's a coincidence she disappeared the same night Joffrey died?
No, but Sansa's not a killer.
At least not yet.
Yeah.
That part got left out.
The Starks have got to get their murder on, or they're just not going to live. But I like the mirror here. Later on, we're going to hear that Sansa says the same thing about Tyrion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't do it. No, he just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do they know each other that well?
Yeah.
Well, they are married.
Yeah, you know, marriage is.
And they're
had
sweet to
sex.
each other. You know, he doesn't abuse her. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean,
That's
not,
what
he,
constitutes sweet in Westeros.
he is definitely the prime Lannister.
Tyrion has not raped her.
Yes.
Therefore, nice couple.
Yeah. Good, solid marriage.
Cleared the low bar of a King's Landing marriage.
My favorite part of that scene is actually the first couple of lines that you went off there, and it didn't really dwell on it, but I love this dynamic here because it's there's a break point there, and it's that break point that I'm sure most people have been through at one point or another, where you are either close with someone or you have a really good time with someone, and then you reach a point of struggle, and you realize that neither of you trusted the other person quite as much as you thought you did.
Right.
And it's not an accusational piece. It's literally like we both thought the other one might have actually done it. We're going to call each other on it, but there's something that's lost there, and you never get it back.
Right.
And it's just it's a really great little moment within the scene, and just
and just also Dinklage's frustrated eye roll of like, well, then there's nothing you can do. I don't want you to do anything inappropriate. Just you can see that he's just fed up.
Well, and look at Jaime here. Like, you know, a lot of people seem to complain that he's like this. He's been shown as heroic in this episode, but it took Bronn shaming him to get him to Tyrion.
Right.
The old Jaime would have like busted him out right then and there.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Would attack Ned Stark in the middle of the street to get him.
This Jaime is almost a coward, or is like he's just like, well, I don't think you did it, but I'm just going to let you go to trial.
Yeah.
Because
we know that'll end well.
he was the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and he killed the king.
Right.
So how more inappropriate can he get?
Right, the Kingslayer brothers. I didn't want to play the entire scene, but when he says, "You like the Kingslayer brothers?" There's one of us who put up the
Blues Brother meme.
Yeah,
the
that
Blues
was
Brothers.
awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
We're on a mission from God.
Okay, so I'm going to finish the rest of King's Landing before we get to the Cersei bit, because we have a lot of feedback on Cersei and Jaime. The next little bit is Olenna and Marjorie. And so I'm just going to play that because I have Olenna and Marjorie together, and then we'll talk about the Marjorie Tommen thing.
I was good. I was very, very good. You are even better, but you need to act quickly. Cersei may be vicious, but she's not stupid. She'll turn the boy against you as soon as she can. And by the time you're married, it'll be too late. Luckily for you, the Queen Regent is rather distracted at the moment, mourning her dear departed boy. Accusing her brother of his murder, which he didn't commit.
Well, he could have done.
Oh, he could have done, but he didn't.
You don't know, Grandmother.
But I do know. You don't think I'd let you marry that beast, do you?
What? I don't understand. Who?
Don't you worry yourself about all that. You just do what needs to be done.
So I liked this bit, and also the bit in Molly's section in Daenerys, because it's a little Walking Dead throw out. First of all, we had the hordes of slaves attacking the masters, which was a very sort of like horde Walking Dead thing. And then this is tying into a subplot on Walking Dead where one of the characters is like a sweet old lady type who's become completely murderous.
Oh gosh.
And just like ruthlessly killing off useless people.
Yeah.
Who are in the way and making an inconvenience. So
she just cleaned it up.
But talk about the feedback we got that said no big murder mystery here.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have everybody's just gonna be spouting out.
We're just gonna.
I totally killed the king. Oh, I was involved too. Oh yeah, it's like Woodstock.
They're going into like Love Line.
Poisoning Joffrey is the Woodstock. Okay, so after this though, Marjorie visits Tommen. This was one of my favorite scenes in a long time. And they did Sir Pounce, which we all one of the books that we want. But Tommen has landed real softly here.
I know. He gets rid of a bratty older brother. He gets to be king. He gets Marjorie.
He gets Marjorie and kittens.
Yeah, he gets kittens.
But he does have to sleep in Joffrey's old room.
Looking at
the
hog.
wildebeest with the.
But he's got Sir Pounce, which is quite possibly the best cat name I've ever heard.
Yes, it is.
It's devastatingly good.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so we have Elena saying, you need to secure Tommen's loyalty, and I think Marjorie did it like in 5 words. I really think she has him at this point. And
he looked like he was wetting himself.
His eyes were huge, like saucers. I'm in way over my head.
After she left, he went, and got ye old Kleenex.
Yeah, had a little evening for himself.
How old is he?
Like 13 in the show.
In the show, he's 12 or 13. In the book, he's 8, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a very different relationship.
Right.
Here, she can actually play up to him a little bit.
She's more his babysitter on books.
Yeah.
But again, I thought it was a very affecting scene. I mean, I believed her ability to get it. She played it well. She played it sincerely enough. Like she could have a good relationship with Tommen.
How old does he have to be to get married and be king? How old was
16?
Joffrey?
No, I mean I think they can marry him earlier.
Yeah.
Right.
14?
I mean whatever is expedient for the people. I don't think there's a rule, but I think 13 is.
Girls have to have menstruated.
As soon as he gets hairs on his balls or something.
I don't know what the rule is for boys, but girls have to have menstruated.
Right.
Probably boys have a fixed age.
This was another scene with a nice little touch there at the end when she sort of leans in for the kiss and then realizes that like he's terrified.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she should probably kiss him on the forehead rather than like completely.
It won't be a good lay.
No.
And you see this. So like, it won't be a good lay. 14 years old, not a good lay for you. 13.
No. I'm not one of those whack trash American teachers we keep seeing on the news.
Mary Kay Letourneau, Tyrell.
He's with these women.
I like Marjorie because she's the anti-hound. It's like the hound represents the ruthlessness of the show. Right? It's like you have to be a killer, you have to be ruthless, you have to kill chickens and all this other stuff. And she's showing that you can with empathy to a 14-year-old. Also rule and get some power by hearts and minds stuff. So very good there. Okay, so let's I don't have the audio on this because we got a lot of feedback on Cersei. Oh, the last one actually before Cersei is Jamie. Is Brienne. So we have Jamie gives his sword that his father gave him to Brienne. She names it Oathkeeper. She gets into that awesome armor. Right. He gives her pod.
Yeah,
which is very, it's awesome for her.
And she's like, it's going to slow me down. I'm like, yep.
In all the right ways.
And they didn't really show it, but I got the implication that he got Pod out of town on Tyrion's request.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they given Tyrion's like get him away, and it's kind of like afterthought of like, wait, no, I can look this up, right?
Well, he did say that Tyrion owed him,
right,
and that he's not safe. So.
Right.
One of the things I would say, this is actually one of the scenes. I mean, the sort of like send off with Pod was pretty entertaining with Pod's big old grin and his goofy ass self there. But the scene with the whole sword over and everything, I thought kind of felt flat for me. So this is like, we'll get into the whole rapey thing on the next scene. But if there was a part of it that didn't register with me a little bit is the one thing I missed on this is the point at which Jamie is making this decision that he's not going to go out that he's going to give away this incredibly valuable sword.
Give it to Brienne.
Give it to Brienne and entrust her with this task, and how he feels about it. Is he doing it because he's running away
it didn't
from
look
it?
as heavy as it should have, yeah.
Yeah, is he doing it because this is the only way he can get it done and he really wants to do it? Like, I kind of felt like we were missing the important part of it, which might have been when Brienne wasn't in the room.
He's generally undermotivated in these couple of episodes. It's difficult to tell why he's making the choices he makes.
Yeah,
even though they seem sensible, or they seem like they could be logical. They're not crazy.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's just I remember maybe, what was it, 2 seasons back in the part where they did a really good job of adapting Theon, right? So, I mean, when you read the books...
The Lord of Winterfell stuff?
Yeah. But before that, when he was back on Pike, and he has this great scene where he's writing this letter to Robb, basically saying, don't trust my father, he's going to try to kill you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, he burns it.
Right.
And I think when you read the books, you get these scenes with, Jaime and Brienne, but you get Jaime's point of view.
Right.
And so you get all the internal monologue. Back there in season 2, they did a great job of showing the internal monologue of Theon in a visual format in a scene that wasn't there.
Yeah.
This scene needed that scene before this scene to give it punch.
I think you're right.
And it just wasn't there.
I got a kick out of Theon the Stupid, and it's because we really got a good sense of Theon. I hadn't read the books at all at that point.
Yeah.
And I got a very good sense of Theon. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I saw it a little differently. I saw it as part of the conflict within Jaime, where he's got this huge amount of respect for Brienne, and he's still kind of a bad guy, but he's trying to do the right thing and trying to honor what she believes in him. So I could see that as plausible and believable.
Right.
Since I don't have Shane here to back me up as the other show watcher,
I agree that it's not implausible.
Just fake his voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, do a Shane.
Sure, I could. It's a little deep for me.
Well, the root of much of this is, of course, what we saw between Cersei and Jaime. So we have the scene with Cersei, and she's drinking to everyone's adequate
She's drinking to the point of almost
she had
a whole picture there with her.
Yeah,
but she's just not as whimsical drinking anymore. No. She's just angry drinking.
She's not as whimsical as she was going to poison Tommen and when she was drinking.
But I mean, that was fantastic. I think we're all in for a little bit of
other women being raped.
Yes.
Now she has her own experience.
Yeah.
And not by somebody sacking the city, but by somebody she's supposed to trust.
Oh, get ready for the raping.
Right. And then they have the formality. He comes in and she calls him Lord Commander, and he calls her
Your Grace.
Your Grace, right? And so they're being formal between them, and she's actually upset. Okay, so I gotta say she's upset with him for a very legitimate reason. There is one gold cloak in front of Tommen's door when the king has just been killed. Right. Marjorie can just apparently butterfly on in there without anybody stopping. You would think that Cersei would have every single gold cloak. You see Marjorie even in this wing of the castle.
But remember, there's a joke about the guards. She makes a joke about them, it sounded like she seduced them.
Seduce or bribe or something.
Yeah,
she can only be so.
She
seductive.
flashed him cleavage or something.
But this is Marjorie. Flashing cleavage is not a big bonus.
She actually was a little more restrained.
I didn't say front or back. She shows ass cleavage too.
This time you got to see some side.
She can't just show off because she's showing stuff off all the time.
Well, I think she alludes that there could be other ways.
Well, this is why you have 3 or 4 guards. It gets a little bit tougher. Then there's whatever. The point is clearly Marjorie, who is a suspect in the death of Joffrey, was able to get to Tommen.
Well, maybe it's because she knew about a secret passage in that room. Because she used to hang out with the evil one in that room.
Yes, she did.
Yes, Joffrey might have showed her a secret passage.
I could see Joffrey having built one.
Yeah.
And they do talk about there being a lot of secret passages in the castle. So it's very possible it's a secret passage.
And well, let's just keep in mind, Jaime's, 0 for 3 on keeping kings alive, so the track record's pretty terrible.
The one thing about the Jaime and the Brienne scene, I did think it was weak on the importance of it, but I love that shot of her in that gorgeous armor, just looking over her shoulder back at him. That shot was good.
Yes, it was. I don't think it was shot nice. I actually think this is just where they need another scene. That's all.
So now that we've had an episode to follow on the Jaime and Cersei stuff, we wanted to get some feedback from our listeners on how they feel the post-controversy play that.
Yeah, there's some good stuff from our new guy, Haven Perez, who is number 300.
This is Sparta.
This is Sparta. Yeah. First, let me say that the Nattercast podcast on the rape of Cersei was probably the most nuanced I've heard so far. Okay, that's great.
So we're
All right, he's in.
End of feedback.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that one clearly. Can you read that again?
You want me to read that again? First, let me say that the Nattercast podcast on the rape of Cersei was probably the most nuanced I've heard so far.
So to everyone out there, it's pretty easy to get
He listens to
read.
some of the big boys. He's not listening to some kindergarten cast stuff.
I wasn't going to cry. I was just going to say we can be bought with flattery.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So basically, anything says from now on, we just agree with it.
Yes.
It's actually pretty smart. Ready? I think Jaime has always represented a much darker Prince Charming. I think his intimate and touching moments with Brienne seduce some viewers and readers into believing he is changing into a traditional Prince Charming role, and many were feeling happy about this. But I think a man like Jaime, born into a culture drenched in male privilege and entitlement, an entitlement that is only trumped by class entitlement, would have no problem using rape as a method of exerting power. I suspect even the most honorable men of the region would have been hard-pressed to have seen it as rape and would have focused on the incest. And to continue with my dark Prince Charming theme, I think that Brianna brings out feelings and emotions in Jaime that Cersei used to inspire, and maybe inspires new emotions he never experienced. His sexual dominance over his lover sister was his way to demean her in order for him to continue his growing love for Brienne. I don't know about that. Because I don't think he's got like a big boner for Brienne.
No, I think it's more of a respect.
No, it's a respect.
yes.
It's a reflection, respect.
It's kind of like that she's a better person than me, and
It's aspirational.
She's a better knight,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you guys.
Yeah. It's not healthy, spiritually or otherwise, to baptize oneself in rape.
No, that's true.
That is a wise
profound.
sage thing.
I'm going to use that as my signature line on my.
I'm going to embroider that on a pillow.
and violence in order to experience something pure. But I think that is the moral of the moral world of Westeros. That's interesting because he's talking about sensing or recognizing a pattern of their own morality.
Right.
Right.
It's not necessarily our morality because it's a fictional world.
Yes.
That's right.
And part of creating a fictional world is you add on not just the terrain, but you add on culture and morals and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, the
thing.
only clue that we have is that rape is a crime. We know
Yes.
that.
Right.
Because
Because you get sent to the
you get sent to the
wall.
wall for it.
Yeah.
But,
It's done enough.
But it's apparently,
You know, just
Maybe
just
depends on
like
who you
now,
rape, too.
the rape kit backlog is rather large. In
Yeah.
Westeros.
totally.
I feel really
Westeros.
bad about making
I
a
bet
joke
it
about that.
depends
It's like one of the
on-
most
Westeros
horrifying
SVU.
things in the U.S.
I bet it greatly depends on who you rape and the rapist's class in life.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, rape is about power anyway.
Very
so,
class-based.
yeah.
We're talking probably mostly about
The other
high-
thing I
high-order
really liked
victims.
about Haven's feedback, I love this dark Prince Charming because
Yeah.
Yes.
the whole Jaime thing keeps coming back to me. This dynamic that the show keeps putting out characters who do both good and bad things, and I really enjoy the sort of case study we get that we as viewers have trouble processing that complexity.
Yes.
It happens all the time in life,
Yeah.
and we see it all the time, but people are good or bad. He's a nice guy.
Black hat,
He's
white
a bad
hat.
guy,
Yeah.
and the reality
Especially
is
on
is
TV or movies.
right. But
Right,
even in
yeah.
real life, people bucket people, and then they'll
absolutely.
forgive things. I mean, you know,
Well, yeah.
abusive husbands, things like, oh, he's really a good guy. Well, he's not. Just because he was nice here doesn't make him nice all the time.
Right.
Right? Just because he was awful here doesn't make him awful all the time.
Complete
And it's-
assholes can do a nice thing every now and then.
It's really
true.
intriguing to me to watch even like really good TV critics or everyone on the internet struggle with this fact that like we just as people can't accept complexity for the most part.
Right.
We just can't.
I think, I mean, for the most part, I think a lot of people can't, but I do think we're growing, because if you look at a lot of the stuff that we're enjoying in the golden age of television, it's much more complex characters.
It is.
Walter White,
Agreed.
Skylar, I mean,
Right.
all the Breaking Bad people
Yeah.
played in that gray zone.
Yeah.
Right.
The Mad Men.
Mad Men
Mad
plays
Men
in the
are
gray
very
zone.
morally ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that we're growing in that way, that where we can see the complexity of
we
it.
get complex characters, but people start defending. I mean, the Game of
Yes.
Thrones fandom is amazing. The
Yes.
people who like the things they justify is insane. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like justifying all that. I'm not going to get into like spoiler territory, but as things get darker and characters you like do worse and worse things, or just in this Jamie case, people start to justify the actions horribly. I mean, you will see with Jamie, people justify him throwing an 8-year-old boy out the window, and you're just like,
Well, say, you don't understand. He had a motive. That's what the arguments always break down to. Well, he had to cover up his crimes.
Right.
Oh, okay. Walter White, that was a big one. It's like, he's totally justified in everything he does.
It's probably why there was a group of people that were into Skylar hate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Because it was simply about she's party pooping Walter White.
Yes.
He's murdering children.
Yeah.
Right. And Walter White's an awful person.
Exactly.
You should not be rooting for that man. Let's be clear.
Right. But we did.
Yeah, and I mean it's the same thing. Like there's a huge group out there that thinks like Tywin is like the ultimate best ruler ever, and that the Red Wedding was justified because of his argument that his argument that like I stopped the war,
save 50,000 men's lives.
Right. Yeah. But this is how we get into these bad arguments logically is that we assume a binary decision point.
Yes.
Right. So we assume that he could either execute the Red Wedding or do nothing else but fight a war.
Yeah.
He also could have sat down at a table and talked with everyone.
He could have captured Rob.
Yes. He could have not started the war to begin with.
He could have he could have captured Rob and put him on trial. Rob committed a crime.
Yeah. I mean, or he could have not rampaged through the Riverlands. He could have met with Rob and you're right.
He could
my
not be
nephew's an
burning
ass.
down the North right now.
Right. Yes.
Like Roose Bolton's territory is all getting less and less valuable.
Right. It's interesting because we people take these decisions and it's always A or B.
Mm-hmm.
And all of our decisions in life have 99 billion choices that we can run down.
And to run this back to Cersei a little bit, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate because I think she can play this game just as much as all the boys.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, yes, it was a rape, but I think that she had ulterior motives. She was asking for him to kill Tyrion. She was asking for him to kill Sansa.
Just because she was raped, maybe even allowed herself to be raped, doesn't mean that she doesn't have a play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the other nuance you have to go here. When you start seeing clearly that it's just about consent, then you do have to. It's not blaming the victim; it's acknowledging the victim's position.
Right.
And she's not somebody who was walking down the street and attacked by a stranger.
No.
She's somebody who's in a very complex sexual relationship.
No, and she very clearly asked him to kill Tyrion and then started to kiss him.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't excuse Jaime's actions at all, but she was using her
She's playing
sexuality to try to get something out of Jaime.
Yeah, that door goes both ways. Her behavior doesn't excuse Jaime's.
No.
Jaime's behavior doesn't excuse hers.
True.
Right, so that's just life.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, we have a little more feedback. Von Carl Brown. Cersei was extremely cold in pulling rank on him as Queen Regent. This is also a time where rape was supposed to be commonplace. They had rape going on at Castor's Place. Yes, they did.
Oh, yeah, they did. That was the real stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it could come up again if Jaime tries to rekindle the romance. I think that romance is so dead.
No, it's gone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Maybe,
gone.
I don't think he's even into her that much.
I don't think Cersei's got it in the head.
Maybe not, though. I have found there to be an awkwardness and a huge elephant in the room. Being all...
Sorry. Rape does that. Yes.
By being all
Makes things
business,
awkward.
I felt she set a tone which was supposed to add more implication in Jaime's exchange with Brienne. Not saying the execution was stellar, but that was my takeaway. I have to say to the actor playing Pod is awesome. Makes me laugh every time with that goofy
I am enjoying Pod.
Yeah.
That close-up shot of him, like the transition to the
Oh, it was
close-up shot of like this
hysterical.
giant grin on his face was fantastic.
Yes.
And then Kim Sheriff, the whole rape trope is getting very, very old. Fuck them till they die. It's dialogue that really necessary to convey how degenerate these men at Castor's are. I don't think so. I do think the show's writers have gotten themselves in a moral quandary with the Cersei rape scene. I am one of those women who doesn't really care about Cersei per se, because she is a monster. But when you have a huge scene where Khaleesi is cautioned about mercy by the old knight, I haven't read the book, so I can't keep up with all the names.
Barristan Selmy.
Much less how to spell them. That's what I'm still trying to work on.
Game of Thrones Wikia.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work on
Got
our people who sign in here.
Yeah, our listeners are
I'm way behind.
The Natterborn are hard to keep track of.
Our Natterborn. She answers that the best answer to injustice is justice before crucifying the masters. How does that relate to the injustice Cersei suffered at the hands of Jaime? Where is his justice? His not being held accountable at all, and in fact is continuing on his path of redemption.
Yeah, I think that credit that back to the writers, that they just didn't grok what they produced.
Stephanie Brown Anderson. Gotta admit, I feel very conflicted about Jaime and so icked out every time he was on the screen. The only consequence he suffered was the backhand of Bronn gave him with his own precious golden hand. Kelly Eckhart. If I was advising Benioff and Weiss on how to handle this uproar and broken trust, ours more than Cersei's, I suggest they apologize to us. If they and Alex Grave, director of E3, really meant for Cersei to be seducing Jaime, then they need to tell us explicitly that that's what they meant, and apologize for getting it wrong, not for realizing what they were actually portraying. They should re-edit that episode and add a note asterisk to indicate that the new version more accurately represents their intention, and ask us, the viewers, to interpret future actions from the perspective of what they really intended, not what we actually saw. That's if they really meant it to be Cersei seducing Jaime.
Yeah, which is a little closer to what the book scene is. She's more seductive of him.
Yeah, I don't know if it was ever intended to be Cersei seducing Jaime more as just really, really messed up, but ultimately consensual.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of a dual action. I don't think
in the book she acquiesces before sexual battle.
I think all they need to do is insert her saying, "Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Fine then." And then it'll be all clear.
Yeah. Little ADR, they'll all be taken care of.
I actually kind of think that we've had SVU shows like, a rape a week and nobody talks about it, and it's really interesting that this got people talking. So.
See, in the book, she does do a do me at the end.
She says do me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's keep that in mind.
Stump me.
Yeah, I mean, just even in all the same episodes, I would just count the number of people like butchered, and in this episode there are like 7 other rapes, and they torture a mentally disabled guy, and there's no commentary about it.
No,
but,
and much of it not in the book.
Well, actually,
how many people died in the sack of Marine?
Wait, but hold on. That actually, a gentleman brought that up.
163 people were crucified.
Yeah, a gentleman brought that up. How come there's all this other violence?
Yeah.
But you guys are all narrowing in on this.
Yeah.
And one of the women said something that I thought was really sage. And she said, I can't remember who it was, but she said, because I don't personally run the risk of being crucified.
Right.
Being all these other things, losing in a battle. But rape, especially that kind of icky date rapey stuff, is a woman's experience and fear.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It becomes more visceral.
So I think,
and easier to identify.
I think that makes that scene even better. Like, people are saying it was a huge mistake. I think that's awesome. I think if a show can hit a nerve, even though they obviously didn't execute it right.
I don't think they should edit it at all.
Just roll with it.
Roll with it. But I'm afraid that, they've already got the
Unfortunately, they can't roll with it.
And they can't pay it off properly because they didn't realize what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I absolutely support if they had said, we're going to have him rape Cersei and have her be conflicted about it, and we're going to play that out. That's a better choice than what was in the book. And I would have supported them making that choice.
Yep.
So it feels like we got half of that pie.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right.
Okay, so now so that gives us King's Landing, and now we move on to Miss Danielle for Baelish and the Wall.
Alrighty.
And we have audio on Baelish if you want.
Huh?
We have audio on Baelish.
Do you want to play it first?
Yeah, why not?
Go for it.
If they catch you, they'll put your head on a spike just like my father's. You'd risk that just to confuse them.
So many men. They risk so little. They spend their lives avoiding danger. Then they die. I'd risk everything to get what I want.
And what do you want?
Everything.
Creeper.
My friendship with the Lannisters was productive. But Joffrey, a vicious boy with a crown on his head, is not a reliable ally. And who could trust a friend like that?
Who could trust you?
I don't want friends like me. My new friends are predictable, very reasonable people. After what happened to Joffrey, well, that was something my new friends wanted very badly. Nothing like a thoughtful gift to make a new friendship grow strong.
All right, and of course that leads into Olenna and Marjorie. There.
Right.
Plus the words of the Tyrells, though I don't think they've really emphasized it a lot, is growing strong.
Yeah.
So I like to
yeah.
envision after the cut, Littlefinger's like, get it?
Yeah.
Get it?
Growing strong. Get it,
Growing
get it.
strong.
Took me all day to think of that.
I've been working on this. Why don't you appreciate me?
So as we hear, Sansa finds herself under Little's finger out at sea.
Little's finger.
And they're en route to the Eyrie to see her Eyrie auntie.
He's going to be Uncle Baelish.
Huh?
He's going to be Uncle Baelish.
Oh,
Yep.
that's so
Oh my god, that's so creepy.
Daddy Baelish.
And so obviously he confesses to being behind Joffrey's poisoning. And as my kids would say, he's a total creeper, which Ellen beat me on that one.
But you can't see it on the audio. But he literally, he's like, what do you want? And he like looks down at her chest.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he looks back up at her and he's like, everything.
Oh,
Really,
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
that right there.
Yep.
I get the sense he's willing to wait on that, though. Sansa's
Yeah.
not an immediate priority.
No.
So say what you want. There's a lot of Sansa haters out there, but she sure seems to be getting hip to Captain Mockingbird a heck of a lot faster than either Ned or Catelyn did.
Yeah.
Well,
Who hates Sansa?
Oh,
man.
lots of Sansa hate.
The world hates Sansa.
She's
I mean, a lot of
young,
it's book
she's
hate.
dumb, she's stupid, she's naive.
She doesn't
she's
hurt
blah, blah,
anybody.
blah.
It stems back from the
She
books.
was
where-
raised to be royalty. She was raised to be a lady. She was raised to think a certain way. And, you know, everything that's been
she's
going on in her
completely a
life is
victim.
she's very
completely
shallow and
outside that
self-centered in the
scope.
books.
Oh.
So, like, her internal monologue gets annoying to read.
Right.
She's like a 14-year-old girl in the books, and she actually they didn't do it in the show.
She's
but
sort of like Clueless.
She kind of
Movie
sold
Clueless.
out Ned to Cersei
Right.
Yeah.
because she wanted to be queen. She wanted to marry Joffrey, and then they strongly
And she didn't
contrast her
realize-
with Arya, who's everybody's favorite. And so there is an intense amount of like
Major.
hate for kind of a shallow teenage girl,
Yeah.
Right.
which is what they are.
I've liked Show Sansa for the last couple of seasons. I really didn't like her in the first season. I don't think you're supposed to like her.
No,
I think
you're not
she's
supposed to
supposed to
like
be
her.
someone who you're annoyed and impatient with.
Absolutely.
Because she's naive and all this others. And she, like you said,
Whiny.
But I think since season 3, like the beginning of season 3, she's really been a more.
Yeah, I don't get the hate. I can get the
I don't get the
annoyance, but I don't know. I've never gotten the hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Alrighty then. So I also have the Wall. And when we first see the Wall, Jon is teaching the guys how to fight. He's sparring with them. And he's actually giving these poor guys a clue. I mean, they only have 100 guys on the Wall. They have hundreds of thousands coming after them or whatever the heck.
Right.
Of free folk or wildlings, however you want to call them. And Jon's doing the right thing. He's being a good brother. He's teaching these, some of them are probably were farmhands and stuff. They have no clue how to fight.
Right.
And of course, Alistair Thorne has to come and piss on it and remind him he's only a what do you call him?
Steward.
Steward. I wanted to say porter for some reason.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Close.
He's only a steward, and don't you have a chamber pot to empty or something? And they just
This whole like
Classic
100
male
of us
bullshit.
versus 100,000 of them really doesn't seem to be registering with anyone.
No.
On the other hand, at least they have like a 700-foot wall. Like, I don't even know if you need to fight.
But every dude has to still kill like 1,000 people. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah, I don't think it's
and,
quite-
and there's a plan for coming up from around the back. You think you would be working more to organize whoever's in the north,
Or like frantically trying to get more troops.
yeah, or warning farmers to arm themselves. Here come wildlings; they're going to cannibalize you.
Yeah.
And you're 1,000 to 1. Okay, you're talking about fierce ass wildlings, giants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cannibal giant mutant
cannibal
freaks.
Yep.
and agreed.
Alrighty. So then we see Jon looking over maps, and he's got Sam with him. And Sam is completely freaking out because the free folk are advancing on the Wall, and he's realizing how unwise his decision was to leave Gilly and the baby in Molestown.
I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Jon drops the thing about when you told me about Bran going beyond the Wall, and that really floored me as a book reader because he never hears about it. Sand keeps a secret. So
in the book.
Yeah, John never knows that Sam saw Bran.
Bran, right?
So that really threw me for a loop on that one. And then you start seeing them plot out how far they would travel. And it was good to answer the question I had. I was curious as to how far away Craster's Keep was from the wall, and apparently it's 60 miles.
Okay, that makes
That makes sense.
Because it did seem like it was 2 days walk for Sam and Gilly.
Right.
Which would be more like 40 miles, I guess. But I do like that they're bringing Bran and Jon a little closer together, because I feel like the Bran storyline just trundles off into space, and
But
you
I'm
could
just
really
really
put them
curious, are they
proximate to
actually
Jon.
going to see each other, or are they actually going to...
Yeah, I'd support
'cause,
that. He's at Craster's.
None of that happened, so I don't know.
We'll see.
And then, of course, in that first scene, we saw Locke again, and at first I was like, what the hell is Locke doing here? And that threw me off for a minute, too. So I was a little confused.
Yeah,
but
so
we
was I,
see-
actually.
Huh? Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, that's not Locke. No. And my
give
boyfriend's
you
going, yeah, it
100
is. Yeah, it
acres
is.
and a
That's
hold
Locke.
fast.
I knew it was Locke,
Yeah.
but I'm like, what the hell's he doing there?
Yeah.
So that just threw me off.
And then as we got farther in,
Right.
it was like, oh, that's an excellent deal.
Yeah.
So Alistair Thorne gets kind of whispered in his ear, like, hey, you might want to try to get rid of Snow, because you are acting Lord Commander right now, but eventually there'll be a vote, and you're a complete dick, and nobody will vote for you. Everybody will vote for Jon, and then you're going to be reporting to this little snot-nosed kid for the rest of your life.
Janos Slint, right?
I wish that had been the actual dialogue. You're kind of
It's about the way it went.
It's a little more polite than that.
It's like there's 100 of you. You really can't be killing off a dozen.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So Alistair Thorne ends up giving him permission to lead a ranging to Creeper's Keep, where everybody's partying it down. And he does tell him volunteers only, and he gets quite a few volunteers. It was about a dozen men, I would say.
Yeah. We can't have them all get killed off.
All of his trusted friends and the new guy.
Right.
Hey, new guy.
Yeah.
We're going to trust you with first watch. We're all going to sleep.
John sells it that Mormont, if we're all brothers, Mormont was our father, and we need to go get justice for Mormont.
Yeah.
So, and of course, Locke jumps up and wants to go with, even though he's not even a sworn brother yet.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, so Locke is clearly on this mission for Bolton. Is
Right.
he going to take the oath and then just violate it?
Well, he doesn't really seem to
I would
care
think
about
so.
things
Yeah, but
like that.
the penalty for violating the oath is they don't care what your motive is, they behead you.
True.
Well,
but
only
you have
if
to
you
get caught.
Only if you get caught. I guess it'll be protected by Bolton.
Pretty sure Bolton's not going to cut off his head a la Ned
He
Stark.
might. This is the Boltons.
Well,
If he
yes,
has-
only if he has no need for it.
It's legal for me to kill Locke. Oh, I'm doing that. He cut off Jamie's hand. I haven't had a chance to get.
All I have to say is right now I'm even more disappointed Locke is the replacement for Vargo Hoat.
Yes.
Because in the books, Vargo Hoat just disappeared. But here, he could go beyond the wall.
Yep.
He could betray Jon Snow.
He could really go film and look for Brandon Thark.
And he can liberate Crafton.
Craft of Keep.
Jesus Christ.
I think,
Why did we get rid of Vargo Hoat?
I
It's
think
so much
because the
better.
showrunners thought that if they had someone that spoke like that in the show, no one would take it seriously.
And they were wrong. I would watch those scenes over. It's like Sir Pounce all over again.
Why does Dario Naharis look like Lando Calrissian and not a Muppet?
That we want our Belwas.
Oh man! Now I just wish they had gotten Billy D. Williams to play Dario Naharis. I mean, I know he's old now, but
He can play
it just as a complete sidebar, which you'll probably be like, really, Alan, get back to it. When you're a kid and you watch Empire Strikes Back, you don't realize Lando Calrissian. And then there's that point in your life when you watch Empire again, and Billy D. Williams walks past Han, looks at Leia, and he's like, what do we have here? How did that make it into this movie? That's what we need out of our...
That's what you do to a guy who takes your ship from you.
I know. He's just like, I'm going straight to
I'm going
that.
straight for your lady.
That's
straight
right.
for your lady.
That's what we needed out of our Dario Naharis.
Okay, does that cover the wall?
Yeah.
It does. All right, so we are on to Mr. Allen and the Mutineers.
All right. So this, of course, is I'm getting all the rape scenes. We do have a little audio clip here.
Yes, we did.
A little of Carl of Gin Alley.
know how much they paid me to kill a man in King's Landing? 7 silvers. They told me a man's name and that man never saw daylight again. None of them cocksuckers got away from me.
Told me a man's name and made me think
I haven't lost a fight since I was 9. Maybe it's time. What do you think? Eh? Maybe you're the man? Hey, come.
I wouldn't stand a chance. None of us would.
I was a fucking legend, Ginelli. A fucking
Sounds like
legend.
Mick Jagger in
I would
this one.
take any night, any time.
Less is more.
Fucking cunts in steel plate. Fucking cowards.
So, a really nuanced performance. We missed the part of him drinking out of Mormont's skull.
Yes, we didn't start that early. And, you know, there's been a lot of discussion about, hey, was the rape too much? Was it necessary? This is the scene, of course, with, like, rape them till they're dead and all that stuff. I really don't like getting into discussions about, like, is something necessary in entertainment or art? Because honestly, in this story, like, is Jamie's story necessary at all?
Is
Like,
Jamie
that's
Jones
the
necessary?
character. Like
Yeah.
there's whole swaths here that really aren't necessary. But I think the real shame actually in making, like, I know they wanted to make them bad, right? So we feel fear and all those things, but they missed an opportunity by not making them that bad.
Right.
Carl here actually has an interesting little class dynamic. He's sort of Karl Marx of Gin Alley. I think Rast, it's again, I really like the small moments in this. Rast, a character who was the bully of Sam and who's the guy that Jon Snow sicked Wolf on way back in, like, season 1, right? Just this guy we've learned to be a bully. His sort of actions in this scene, he's got this Craster wife daughter on his lap and everything like that, but he's looking for something else. He's kissing her on the back. He's trying to sort of get, the girlfriend experience. He's not looking for, I want to rape her until she's dead.
Right.
Like, and there's all these little angles here that they could have pursued, and they could have set these people up to the point that you're like, I don't know, maybe they're better off without Craster. Instead, they went the route of, no, we're going to make them even worse than Craster. We're going to make it obvious that when John, comes in and does whatever he needs to do,
side.
When they capture Bran in a few minutes, it's very clear there's a fear. I don't know. I think given how well this show does with, gosh, I don't know if Dany being that way was the right move. I don't know if I should root for Jamie or not.
Right.
Like, this was another moment of, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have to be great, but it just became a little cartoonish.
If the mutineers at Craster's Keep were living kind of the wilding ethic, but they didn't join Mance Rayder and they weren't going to push south and they weren't going to kill people, they'd be better than Mance Rayder.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and like you say, they could liberate the women here and just live a farm life with like that. Maybe be mercenaries or something. And I agree. I think that I would have liked to see John coming in and us not know how we feel about him killing these guys. Now I'm going to be happy. Kill them. Yeah.
Of course, we do have the scene.
Kill everything with a dick.
Was it the last episode where they're walking through, the yard at the wall and they're going rape?
That was Sam. Yeah.
Rape.
It's totally consistent with the characterization. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's interesting how much. I mean, everyone seems to love King's Landing. It's interesting how much they do with gray and black and white. But we've talked about this before. Jon Snow and Dany, like, Dany's just starting to get some edges to the storyline. Yeah. They seem to make a abnormally high effort to keep it a little more traditionally, like, rah.
Yeah.
And I don't see the point.
The only place I'd say where they did really good nuance of Jon Snow is his relationship with Ygritte.
Yeah.
Because I think he really does love her, but he's really prepared to kill her.
Right.
Yes.
And both of those things are true.
She's obviously
the enemy, and he's in love with her.
She's obviously very prepared to kill.
And she's very prepared to kill. Yeah. And so I like that. It's the core of nuance of the entire thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I got about Craster's Keep this time that I didn't get before was, where are all the infant, adolescent, toddler females?
Yeah.
there must
they're not
be some-
there.
They're only broodmare age.
Yeah, there's no 8-year-old kids.
Which, thank God, they weren't in this season.
Right.
We don't exactly want to see a 6-year-old walk by seeing 5 women getting raped at the same time. But it's kind of, they should have
It
at
is
least showed them in the
interesting,
previous seasons. They should have been women of younger ages.
And the keep's not that big. You pretty much have to be huddled in that room.
It's
to
pretty much a
be
house.
warm. So it's, especially if you're a child,
Yeah.
you need to be warm. So what are you gonna do? I don't know.
Anyways.
Where are the young women? They're all of age, it seems, or just about to be of age.
And they were saying that's Craster's last baby, blah, blah, blah. There should be some other babies around.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of the babies we can hand out.
Yes, hand out.
So we have Jon Snow leading off, arranging to accumulate basically all the Northern Starks. You got 2 direwolves.
Right.
You got Bran. You got the Reeds, and you got Hodor. You know, just like all together.
Like torturing Hodor.
I know.
It's
Seriously.
like they're totally setting us up for watching a massacre that we're going to love.
I was
Torturing
beginning
the
to like
direwolf.
Rest, and then he's like, "Oh, let me torture Hodor."
I gotta say, his Hodoring was not believable to me.
You were not sold by Hodor?
No.
It's like you have one line.
His
One
Hodoring
line.
was more confusion than fear. I was seeing fear, but I was hearing confusion in the Hodors.
Oh man.
Well, he didn't have Bran warging.
He needed a little more method acting or something in that Hodor.
Confusion.
I wanted to see him get really shocked.
The silence of the Hodors.
It was more of a Hodor instead of Hodor! I would have been howling that Hodor. Anyway.
He's a more subtle actor.
Yeah, I guess.
But we're menacing Bran. We're menacing. We're threatening to kill the Reeds. We are starving a direwolf.
Yeah.
More or less, halfway starving a direwolf. We are torturing Hodor. We are raping women until they die. It's like, seriously.
People are going to throw parties when they
This
see
is a pretty
go down.
black and white
Yeah,
situation.
there's not a lot of good going on.
Not a lot of good going on.
And when we're sacrificing infants.
An infant. Yeah. Well,
yes.
as far as we know.
And actually, that sequence was really nicely done. I love the water cracking over that Rast had poured for Grey Wind. I love the shots and the echoes. I think I read somewhere that someone said that the shot of the crying baby crying in the wilderness went on too long. It was disturbing. And I'm like, well, then they just did it just right. Didn't
Exactly.
They?
Yeah, exactly.
You're supposed to be disturbed by a baby being left out in the cold.
Right.
Half naked baby.
So, what did you guys, as book readers, what did you think of the reveal
of?
We just had a door just
of the long walk back to Ice Stonehenge and the.
Yes.
I was just worried that Rast was going to feed the baby to Ghost.
No, you have to sacrifice to the gods.
I know.
Gotta sacrifice. to the gods.
Otherwise, the women just keep.
So I think a lot of people were pretty shocked by it. I guess I was not on that band because I always assumed that was what was happening.
Yeah, it just seems like a reasonable reveal.
Yes, I mean,
it was
babies,
awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean it looked great, right? And it was.
I thought it was a great piece that they threw in there, and I've seen lots of book readers on the.
But it's a question that has not been answered via the books yet.
Right.
And if they were going to answer it at some point, it's surprising they answered it so soon.
Yeah.
For me.
But I don't think they really answered anything. I think
it was cool.
I think they showed some things that were very interesting and very mysterious.
At least we know they're not eating the babies.
I mean, the thing is, in the books too, the ice, the White Walker storyline is incredibly slow. Right, it's like not going anywhere. Doesn't seem to be a White Walker plan.
I feel like they get lost a lot. They get sidetracked a lot. They spend a couple of weeks down in like the southern Isles with like on spring break. They just their speed to the wall is pretty darn slow. Like they're just kind of lazy.
Real slow. And my judgment on this thing is always, if this was in the book, would it be okay on the show? And the answer to this is yes. I mean, you're revealing a little bit of the White Walker stuff. Please give us something.
Yeah, you got to tease us a little bit, or we get we just forget about it.
We just forget about it, and so it's and there's So it reminds you of the threat that even if you get rid of Mance Rayder, you still have a problem that 100 guys can't solve.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I love the shots that they had going up. I love the eyes icing over. One of our Facebook readers noticed there were 13 of them, and I think, though I have not verified, apparently on the the HBO sort of companion guide, they refer to the lead guy as the Night's King, which has a heavy sort of like mythical book influence, and I think they've even briefly mentioned him on the show. So, just
through the old Nan stories, I believe.
Yeah. They it's neat to bring that in and kind of remind people that they come through. And I don't know. I feel like there are plenty of places where the show has either chosen to spoil / interpret where not. Every time we go to a character that's not a point of view character.
Right.
I mean, I think the whole Marjorie thing as half manipulator, half naive is a spoiler. Now, I don't know if that's what Martin really intended.
Right, because you don't know what Marjorie's thinking in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this is the same thing. Would I be shocked if this was exactly right in future books? No. Would I be shocked if it wasn't? No. I don't know. It's given me that much.
Well, the other thing
different.
It's different.
Right.
Yes.
God.
The pacing of a TV show is totally different.
I think Molly might be frustrated with something.
Just a tad.
I just, let them be different. That's all I'm asking. Let them be different.
Well,
it's okay.
Speaking of different, our friend Stephanie was
Equality.
on the cast, which I'm remiss in not having. I will give a shout out to the next week. Who had a very lively discussion that spilled over into our group on potatoes in Westeros and the realism of how there were not potatoes in Europe until they discovered the Americas. Gosh darn it.
This is just a little piece of the back and forth exchange between some of our Natterborn, but the whole thread is priceless.
Yes.
It's worth joining the group for. So it starts off with Stephanie Brown Anderson. I'm listening to some people who are very upset that there were potatoes in the show because there weren't potatoes in the books. And some people think I'm book crazy. Katrina McDowell, I'm still giggling that these fantasy readers can't wrap their heads around potatoes. But dragons and wargs seem perfectly understandable. Technically, the potato wasn't discovered by any English European person until explorers were sent west, which didn't happen until after the medieval ages were over. I don't know if they were disputing when exactly the medieval ages ended. David Helsel, I am a little irritated that their food is so similar to what is eaten on this planet. Not enough to stop reading whatever.
I'm not irritated that they are human beings and have horses and stuff like that. It doesn't bother me.
Jackie Burgett, I hate to bring up the PC card, but the rutabagas are now feeling slighted.
Oh, man.
They are not an attractive plant. So on their behalf, I wanted to represent them in this thread.
But you guess what? You can make pie with rutabagas.
Dry pie.
Look, a
You
pie.
can make sweet potato pie.
Pat Sponagel. Jackie, rutabagas once betrayed my entire family at a salad bar.
Oh, God.
We called it the Red Buffet.
Oh,
If your house rutabaga, there can be no peace.
wow.
Clearly, the mention of potatoes in the show indicates that a band of Ironborn has sailed west, discovered a new world, picked up some potatoes, sailed back east, got blown further north than expected, sold some of the goods at the Shadow Tower. Some Night's Watch dudes transported the goods to Molestown for trade. The farmer traded some neeps and onions for the potatoes.
Yep.
Brought them home, and his wife cooked them up like nobody's business. The end. See, it all makes perfect sense from a book
He
perspective.
must have traded him with Davos, the Onion Knight.
Yeah.
And he
it was Yara
smuggled them
Greyjoy.
into Westeros.
Yara Greyjoy smuggled potatoes into Westeros.
Yeah.
But there's like tons of those kind of golden nuggets, so to speak.
Yeah, when the hell are
In
they
the
going to
thread.
show Yara?
Yeah, well, she's supposed to be coming in for Theon soon. Huh?
I know, they haven't showed
That's-
nothing.
Yeah.
What?
They showed she's on her way.
Yeah.
So,
said
we
she was coming.
wanted to do the potato conversation because it's like, I think we spent a good solid hour talking about sexual assault in the last over the last two episodes. So there are other issues that people take seriously that are a
So,
little less dark.
potatoes.
So
Yeah,
potatoes.
the people are taking that just as seriously, apparently.
But again, it's fiction.
Yeah, but it's also
Right.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's like
but
I would totally argue
it's
about
fiction.
potatoes.
They can make things up.
I really enjoy the justification of sailing west. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well,
Sailing west.
Ironborn Vikings.
Yeah.
I think there's a correlation.
There's,
I know
there's
the
a-
Vikings
there's a
were-
character that hasn't
Yeah.
been introduced yet that supposedly has sailed around the world.
Okay.
So he
There
could
you
have
go.
brought potatoes.
He could have been the man who
Some
brought
other people in
potatoes
that
back.
thread suggested that it was a dragon.
Dragon egg droppings.
Dragon egg.
Oh.
Yeah.
Have potato
there you
seed
go.
in them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's how they migrated. Yes.
Interesting.
That was really good.
Yeah.
So I think that just about covers it for the week. I don't have anything for spoiler section. You guys want to do is there anything spoilery anyone wants to bring up? No? Okay. So I think we will close out this week without a spoiler section. And we're looking forward to next week. Another Michelle McLaren. Hopefully, fine performances and a little more action. We could use a little more action.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna kill some
How many
baby leaving,
Yeah.
disabled person torturing rapists. So that should be good.
Choppy, choppy, choppy.
Yes.
Michelle McLaren, choppy, choppy.
How many episodes did she do? 2 this season?
2. Yeah. So she
Awesome.
did episodes 4 and 5.
Tiana will be happy.
And we're gonna be
next
halfway through.
Yes,
we're
you'll
already
be
gonna be
happy.
halfway through next week.
It just makes it sad.
Yeah, we are.
Although before we leave, I did want to make a couple mentions. I'm really I'm on some other shows. I'm really impressed with Mad Men right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The last 2 episodes I've
Yeah.
really liked quite a bit.
And Silicon Valley, the first couple episodes, like, but it's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the reasons it's really good is this one actor.
Yeah.
And I found out that he died already.
Yep.
The actor did. So he's only in like 4 or 5. I'm only going to see him in 2 more
5.
episodes. Yeah.
Of cancer too. He didn't look like he had. He must have
Lung
hit it.
cancer.
Lung will
That
take you
stuff
down
goes
real fast.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lung that went to his brain and
Yeah.
Oh, poor
That's a
guy.
fast one.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
But at least he got some.
Yeah,
Burger
I
King.
finally got caught up on that too, and I was born and raised in Mountain View and still work in Palo Alto, and it hits home,
Oh,
man.
really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, those are very much hits home.
Very much so.
And
Very
everybody's
cool.
waiting with bated breath for Orange is the New Black.
Yes. Which I think we're going to do a little coverage of, probably after Game of Thrones.
And
We have to
I can't wait for
keep our
Derek.
schedule.
Are you guys watching Orphan Black?
I caught the first episode. I haven't caught the second one yet.
Yeah, we watched a couple, but we
gotten
aren't
yet.
totally hooked yet.
I like the actress very much. I'm impressed with the range of the roles.
I like the idea.
Story isn't grabbing me.
No, I kind of felt like I like the very first episode. The first scene is fantastic, and it kind of rolls downhill. But I love the suburban mom version of that. They should just make the show about her and forget the rest of the storyline.
It's on my B list. I enjoy it, but I don't jump all over it. Yeah, I do think she's giving a very amazing range of performances.
Yeah,
for
it's
someone
pretty
carrying
insane.
a show with like 10 characters or 12 characters. At a
Yeah, she
time.
plays like 8 of them.
Yeah, seriously. So okay, yeah, and Derek, we were talking about. Orange
Yes,
is the New Black.
Derek. Derek is high art. Everybody should watch Derek.
Yeah. And after Game of
Man,
Thrones,
you'll love it. You will love it.
Yeah. And feel free to write in if there's any shows you want us to cover. We're thinking of doing a couple of like really just like multi-show episodes where.
Well,
we talk
Shane
about
was
light stuff.
hoping. I just saw that come across the board today. Shane was saying, please, 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 let us cast Orange is the New Black.
I think we're going to do that. Yeah, but
So we'll have to talk about that.
it'll be probably after this.
I'd like to do one general episode at some point too, just to, like, what's everybody watching? What's the new stuff they're watching?
Yeah.
And just go around and talk about what we're into these days.
Yeah. We don't have to always be doing a week to week, wall-to-wall
Or
coverage
blow
thing.
by blow,
Or
scene
blow
by
by
scene.
blow.
I think I would really embarrass myself in that one. I
You
would
could watch a
confess
lot
to
of
watch some garbage.
But you watch a lot of really good detective shows and procedurals.
Yeah, but I'm kind of run out of them. So if anybody could write in or come to the group, and I need some more. I'm
CO
really
needs more
burning
shows.
through
She
'em.
likes Scottish detectives.
Yeah.
So like Sherlock doesn't come around way often.
The last
Anywhere
season
near
I couldn't
often
get
enough.
into because it was just an action thing. It wasn't the cool, clever show that it was before. Yeah.
Well, okay, kids. Until next week, I wouldn't
More
want you.
prime suspect.
I wouldn't want you to do anything inappropriate.
Oh no.